Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad to hear this Wednesday morning. Got a great show lined up here with special guests. But first, our weather brought to us by Haney Technical at the corner of 77 and Baldwin. Now, high today, let's get back to water temperature like we talked about yesterday. You know, it was up to 78 and then 77, then dropped to 75 yesterday. Now it's about 76 today. So that trend continues as it starts cooling down some and staying cool down. But air temperature is going to be a high of 79 and a low of 62. Be in great shape there. Let's take a look at our river readings. The Apalachicola Bluntstown is just a slow, even and steady drop. It's reading a 3.8 this morning, and looking at about a weekend, it'll be getting close to 2 foot by the weekend if it stays on track. The Choctahatchee at Kerrville is just flat level. I mean, it's at 3.2 and not much movement all week long and on into Friday. Just a slight decrease there. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Their motto is "When Caring Counts," and it's right here on 23rd Street. Good strong tides. We're looking at the tides, high tide at 12:43 this morning, and a low tide at 12:05 right at lunch. And you're looking at today is the 29th, and you're looking at a good strong tide coming in the afternoon and dropping in the morning. So everything looks really good. As far as our wind, looking at about 5 to 10 coming out of the south, and don't forget about a 20% chance of rain. And don't forget, this Sunday now, the time will be changing, so go ahead and start thinking about it. You'll be falling back. All right, let's take our break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and welcome Captain Ken Paramore.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm real great, Ken. Always great to have you on.
Glad to be back.
Ken represents the FWC and all the law enforcement endeavors. How many guys are you sort of in charge of?
About 30
or
31. I got and a couple administrative people too, so
wow,
probably about 32 total that I oversee.
That sort of sounds like my classroom.
And
you have
six counties.
Wow.
Bay and Gulf, Washington, and Calhoun, and Jackson, and Holmes.
Okay.
So I go from the Gulf to the Alabama state line.
And that's a chunk of woods and water right in that area.
In between the rivers.
Yeah.
I've got everything between the rivers from the Gulf to Alabama.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's just a chunk in the middle of the Panhandle.
All right.
It's pretty diverse, and it keeps me busy because one minute you're dealing with something in saltwater or offshore or in federal waters, and the next minute you're dealing with something in Holmes County or Jackson County that has to do with freshwater or hunting or whatever. So.
Yeah. And that's the diversity of the Panhandle itself.
It is.
And
it is
the beauty of it, really.
And I've got a diverse bit of all of it, so, and it keeps us busy.
Well, okay, we got hunting season is here. Folks, I've already got some pictures of some bow kills and all. And tell us what's going on.
I've seen some. Haven't heard too much about some bow hunting or bow kills in the area. I've seen a few pictures, so I don't know how exactly the weekend went when it opened Saturday. But I do know there was some taken. I saw some pictures of some doe deer and some buck deer, and I'm sure there were some harvested. But that leads us into some of the complications with our new deer management units that people are having a hard time understanding what's legal to take in those zones. And number one, we refer to it as DM1 and DM2. And what divides Deer Management Unit 1 and Deer Management Unit 2 is I-10. So anything north of I-10 is DM2, and south of I-10 is DM1 in the areas that we hunt. Now, in the other parts of the state, during archery season, it's the same as it was a lot of places. Antlerless deer and 5-inch antler rule, you can do either. Up here, in these new deer management units, antler restrictions apply during archery season as they're written in our handbook or on our webpage. South of I-10, they have to have 2 points, at least 2 points on one side. North of I-10, they have to have at least 3 points on one side or a 10-inch beam. So therefore, in DM2, a deer between 5 inches and 10 inches, if he just has a beam, like a spike or a cow horn, he's not legal. The beam has to be at least 10 inches long. So the best way to think about it is antler restrictions as they're written apply during archery season. So they're the same during archery season as they are during if you were hunting with a gun.
Okay.
They're not different during archery season like they used to be. It's pretty confusing. The other thing is in DM 1 and 2 is the antlerless hunting days. In DM 2, north of 10, there's 8 days of antlerless hunting this season. South of 10, there's only 4. And it has to do with deer density, and it has to do with public comment and input. These new rules were put in place with the help and the aid of our stakeholders.
Right.
We had surveys, we had public meetings, we had contacts made with landowners and hunters, and our commissioners came up with this through our staff that provided input from the public, and this is our first crack at what they wanted to see to try to increase the quality of the antlers and deer herd in the Panhandle. And the idea is to try not to take the 1.5-year-old deer. They want to try to take 2.5 or better. And antler restrictions, obviously anybody who manages deer know that, you know, when you have mass and you have size, it has to do with their age. It's not perfect. There is problems and misinterpretation with it. And the other exemption to either zone is it doesn't affect youth hunters. So youth hunters can still take any other deer and not have to abide by these antler restrictions when they're hunting. So it doesn't necessarily handicap the youth hunter. They can take those kind of deer. Another point to remember is when you're hunting you have to have the permits as the seasons are specific. So if you're going to hunt during archery season now with a crossbow, you still have to have the archery permit.
Right. Okay.
So it's whichever season that you're in. If you're hunting with a bow during crossbow season, which is going to come up, actually they do parallel, but I think there's a few days different, you have to have the crossbow permit. Same with muzzleloader. If you're hunting, of course, you can hunt with a crossbow during muzzleloader, but you have to have, whichever the season is the way the permits apply, plus the deer permit, in addition to the hunting license. And of course, if you're in a wildlife management area, then you have to have the wildlife management area permit.
Okay, all right. Sounds, it's a lot of rules in there, but really all done for the management of the deer, really. And you can see, we know there's some more density up there north of Interstate 10 than, and that's why we got longer doe days and all.
We do, and those try to coincide better when, and I probably won't get into them all now, but they coincide better with when people are off or recreating or during the holidays.
Okay.
Like a Thanksgiving weekend, I think in DM1, that Saturday and Sunday are doe days.
Yep.
And people will be in the woods for those 4 days, but before we didn't have antlerless days during the Thanksgiving.
Right.
So, and the other reason I think we lost a few days in the south end on DM1 is there'll be more people hunting. And so, you know, before that doe week was 6 or 7 days, and it was in between seasons. And if you had bad weather or whatever, then, you know, it didn't do any good. But the reason I think we have less days is because we're going to be having those doe days when we have more hunters in the woods.
Okay. All right, we're going to take this quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sitting here with Captain Ken Paramore, FWC, and we were talking off air about the carcasses and all. So tell us a little bit about always the problem with that, seems like.
It seems like every day since and when deer season opens, we get complaints about deer carcasses dumped in the roadside, in the ditches, in places where, you know, the motoring public drives by them and sees them.
Yeah.
And it can be anything from the whole deer with just the back strap or the ham's gone to just the backbone or the heads and gut piles. And if we catch people doing that, they're going to get the paper. It is considered littering. It does carry a fine. But you would not believe the complaints we receive annually for, I suppose the ones who do this just pull off the side of the road with their bucket and they just dump it right on the side of the road and leave. Or they'll pull up to a bridge and they'll throw it off the bridge into the creeks or the creek bank, and it obviously doesn't go anywhere most of the time. And it generates complaints in a lot of ways. It's a health issue, obviously. It's an eyesore. It gives hunters a bad name. You know, people think that they're slobs and they're slob hunters, and they don't have any respect for other people's property. Most people who hunt legally and have a place to hunt, there's also a place for them to get rid of their carcass, either by digging a hole and burying it, or dragging it off in your lease or your property or off in the woods where the coyotes will find it, and it'll be gone overnight. You know, in any of our woods around here. And why they dump them off the side of the roads?
It just don't make sense, does it? No. It really doesn't. It does give all hunters a bad name, even if it's a small minority of people are doing that. And as a hunter ourselves, we need to really get on to folks that we see doing it. I mean, that's just no sense in that.
No, and it's just it's aggravating, and it's we don't go pick them up, obviously, because we don't have the means, and sanitation departments don't want to fool with them because it's just extra time and effort on their part. And but even if they pull off the side of the road, I'm not encouraging going on someone else's property, but if they left in the woods where they got it, or take it back where they hunted it, and leave it out there, or clean it in the field. Like I say, I've left carcasses on my lease over the years, and the next morning I couldn't even find them.
The coyotes and buzzards and all,
and everything.
It's a natural.
And nobody saw that. So anyway, that's a big problem this time of year.
All right, let's go to something more positive, like our shooting range now. That's exciting.
That's a first for shoot. We've only got a few ranges in the state that the FWC is either involved in or run. And this new one in Bay County is one of a co-partnership between Bay County and the FWC. The funds were provided through several sources, and I know there's been a soft grand opening that they've had, or a soft opening they called before the season. And I went up there the other day and walked in there and walked around, and it looks like it's going to be really nice. It's, in my opinion, really affordable. It's only going to be $10 to go up, and you could stay all day. There's no time limit. There's a pistol range, and then there's, I believe it was 2 rifle ranges. I believe 50 yards and 100 yards is what I noticed. And it's nowhere near completion, because it's going to have, I think, trap and skeet and some other other things off to the side. But right now, you know, for years, one of the things that's rang our phone right before hunting season is, where can I legally go and shoot?
Right. And
we can't tell people to go on private property or go to some land and not shoot, because a lot of times it's not safe, or there's not a backstop, or they're trespassing. And management areas has its own unique problems, because if people try to sight in a rifle now, it's archery season and there's conflict between those parties. So the good thing for Bay County and surrounding counties, it's close to Walton County and it's close to Washington by coming from the north, is the new Bay County shooting range. And like I said, I went there the other day. It's about 3 miles from 79 west, and it's on the right-hand side. It's open Thursday through Monday, if I remember right, and the hours are like 8 to 5 on weekends and 9 to 5 on the weekdays. I think it's closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Okay, all right, good deal.
And it's for those who need to sight in a rifle here pretty soon and no place to go during those days that it's open. It's only $10, and you can shoot pistols and rifles, and there's personnel on site, safety people. And so I think it's a real good deal, and kudos to Bay County. And
okay, there's going to be someone there on the range, though, supervising and
you just about got to have somebody to help, and oversee.
You bring your own weapons.
But believe it or not, we've already had theft and vandalism there, and breaking the fence.
Oh, goodness.
And they've already had things stolen from there. Then there's not much there to steal, but
Yeah.
it never fails.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of doing some investigative work and some surveillance, and
Yeah.
I hope we can bring that to a conclusion.
That's not real smart to break into something like that. First of all,
and it's just equipment and tools
Yeah.
and things that they're using there on site.
But the video, so it's getting so much better now, and that helps a lot too. We'll take our final break. We'll come back with our case of the month. Welcome back to the final segment. Sitting here with Captain Ken Paramore. We're getting ready for our case of the month. But first, we're going to take a look at our fish and game forecast for today, brought to us by Mark Cowart of Edgewater Beach Realty. And we're looking at our time this morning from 5:15 to 7:15, and this evening 5:43 to 7:43. So there's some good times right there. Take advantage of it if you get a chance. All right, now we got to always have entertaining case of the month. So
this one is in Washington and Holmes County, and unfortunately for us legitimate deer hunters and sportsmen, we had a group of about 7 individuals that decided to open the season early last month. And I do want to give a plug into our Wildlife Alert program, because this information came through Wildlife Alert. And
right.
As you know, and everybody knows, that there's reward money for turning in people who are violating our laws. Anyway, we received information that this group of people were night hunting in Holmes and Washington County. And so we started trying to get some names and putting together some players, and did an investigation, and I won't get into all how we got to where we went, but we came up with 7 people that several nights, over about 7 or 8 nights during a week and a half, they went every night, and they killed a total of 7 deer.
Goodness gracious.
Riding around and killing the deer and loading them up, and they also cleaned the deer and threw the carcasses over the bridges that we found out. But the biggest thing, what hurts, is they were selling these deer. Oh. And they were quartering these deer up and taking them to another individual. He was paying them a certain amount of money for each deer. So therefore, there's their incentive to keep going every night, and killing deer. And then we can't prove it on him, but we arrested him, or we're going to arrest him too. He was in turn turning around and packaging these deer for resale, just like somebody would if they were selling drugs.
Oh man!
And when we did our check of his residence and interviewing, he had 5 or 6 or 7 bags of deer meat that were about, 10 to 15 pounds, chunked up and packaged in big, Ziploc bags for resale, obviously.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to be charging, and already met with the state attorney, and charges are being filed on these 7 individuals that for night hunting, taking deer out of season, dumping carcasses, and then they sold the deer, to this other fella who was processing them. And if we hadn't have put a stop to this through the Wildlife Alert and the concerned person who turned these people, or some of these people in, it actually snowballed once we got into it. These people probably would still be doing this because of the dollar incentive,
yeah.
The commercialization of deer. And it's a felony to sell deer meat, so we're looking at some pretty stiff.
Well, good deal. I'm glad y'all busted that group up. And it seems like every year, night hunting would be over with over all these years. But it seems like it goes on year after year after year.
And like I said, now with a possible dollar attached to it, now there's incentive to go and do it. But the deer stand on the side of the road this time of year. The bucks, either were in velvet then, or they've got their horns now. They're running in groups. The bucks are still together. And for those who want to, fudge, it's easy to ride around in the middle of the night and see them and shoot them and load them up. Yeah. And we work it, but we've got a handful of officers in each county, and you just obviously can't be everywhere.
And that's why we require so much of help from our citizens and other hunters and all.
But Wildlife Alert, any game, fish, boating violations, it's a toll-free number. And call us, and we will diligently look into the information, and they can remain anonymous. and be eligible for rewards.
Okay, that sounds good. I've got a couple minutes left. Let's quickly jump over to the water, saltwater, and freshwater side. What's sort of going on this time of year?
Stone crab opened October 15. Stone crab season's open. Saltwater, the only thing I've heard about is there's still kingfish.
Okay.
My son went 2 days this week and caught a sailfish.
Good.
And his first sailfish ever. It was a pretty little sailfish. He released it. And the mahi, dolphin, are still, he caught 2 yesterday, about 5 miles off. And you can look for them, troll around, and still catch a few dolphin until the water temperature changes and they move on. Water, he said it was beautiful yesterday. It was calm. There was bait fish out. He saw some tuna feeding. So there's still a little bit going on offshore.
I've heard some good reports on tuna. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture tomorrow of a tuna that was taken about 1.5 miles offshore. Which is,
he saw some feeding, and he tried to get ahead of them and get to them, and they wouldn't eat. So, but he did get to see some. He said they were nice blackfins.
Yeah. The bay system and freshwater, everything going good there?
Haven't had a lot of rain, so it's clearing up, and the trout and reds, I think, are biting, and it's just a good time of year. October's always fun.
It is a great time of year. We're getting ready. We're about to bust into November, and of course, we got Thanksgiving right around the corner.
It's time to hunt.
Time to hunt.
It's going to get cold. It's time to hunt.
All right. And so you're going to take a couple days off for the season?
I'm headed to the mountains as we speak in about a half hour.
Oh, that'll be fun. It'll be perfect time of year for changing leaves and all.
Can't wait. I need a break.
Oh, okay. As always, we appreciate Captain Ken for everyone coming on the show. He comes on once a month. And if you have any questions on any laws or rules or regulations, just give your office a call.
Absolutely. Or stop by Deer Point office or call our office anytime.
Okay. All right, folks, we want to thank all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Tomorrow, we've got some special guests come on. Then we're getting ready for our famous Friday fishing forecast. Plus, we'll be giving some stuff away. And you brought some stuff to give away, too, so we appreciate that. All right, got to get on out of here. Thank you all for watching the show. We want to thank God for these beautiful sunsets and these hungry fish. And
Amen.
As always, we want to make sure you do something good for your fellow man. You have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.